Yes, the judge is going to vote whether they were lying or they were telling the truth. And we will see who the storytelling champion is. Do not trust any of these guys. We've had Ben, who spent the first year lying his butt off every single time. And then last year, he told the truth every single time. Don't trust any of them. You don't know where they're going.
His true stories are weirder than his lies.
That was the problem. That was the problem. Is that, yeah, it was so utterly bizarre. Are you participating?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to get this. Do I have a volunteer to be my camera operator? Can you please?
There you go. Uh-oh,
And if you
wait.
need to be spelled, maybe one of them.
I've had that in here before.
So you can't get out of all
Why
of them.
Christy is not up here, I don't know. Next year, you can't sit there and be an author and not participate. That's just not how
I mean,
this
I can go back to making money.
Just one for now. As soon as you have told your story, then you're going to pull another one out of the bucket. Gosh, you know what we need? My friend Danny, who runs the game room, has this little thing called Schwazi on his phone. Anybody got Schwazi? Everybody puts their finger on there and it determines who goes first.
I thought we'd just go down the line.
Okay. Well, ladies.
All right, so this is when I blew something up. I was in the kitchen, and I was working with a pressure cooker, making green beans for Thanksgiving one time, and for some reason I put too much pressure in it, and it exploded all over the kitchen, and it took like 3 days to clean the thing. That was when I blew something.
If you think he actually blew up a pressure cooker full of green beans and covered his kitchen in slime, raise your hand. If you think he lied and he has not blown anything up, raise your hand. They're telling the truth by 2 votes.
Okay, well, I was lying.
You were
Good job, Daddy.
My giveaway was you were remarkably in one piece well for blowing up the pressure cooker. Try to remember the Boston Marathon and think about that for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
evidently keeping a subtle word. All right, Jonathan, what's yours?
All right, so only 2 people in the audience have returned. I actually drew this before, so I'm gonna retell it. And so if you remember from the year I told this,
Don't vote.
well, you can vote, just don't let anybody know. What I drew was tell the story of the worst physical fight you ever got in, win or lose. So I went to a tiny college in North Carolina, right near Cold Mountain, which incidentally I met Charles Frazier yesterday in Miami, so that was cool. I was in this tiny North Carolina college, and my junior year I was an RA, and I had this like bungalow style dorm where there were 2 rooms on the bottom and then 4 rooms at the top, and I was in charge of like 6 of these things. And we had this one bungalow. The top floor was basically the starting lineup of the boys soccer team. So these guys were partiers, very wild, and very in shape. And I was, a theater nerd, and also was not. But they were a constant problem, and the guys underneath them really were having some issues. And so one night I finally decided, I'm like, you know what, I have to go deal with this. And so I go up and I knock on the door, and this one guy answers, and he got very belligerent. I told him, you guys gotta quit, gotta turn the music down, we gotta shut this off, you gotta go. And he decided that wasn't gonna happen. So, and the thing about that I discovered, unless you're like trained, the thing about real fights is they're messy. They're really messy. Like movies do not show you what a fight is. So here I decided that this was not a good situation, but I wasn't going to back down. So he decided to try to front me and do the whole like I'm bigger and tougher than you. And so luckily, this was a small college, and I had heard a rumor that he lost a bet and got his nipples pierced. So I bet on the rumor and wasn't sure which one, so I just went for both. And just thought, we'll see what happens. I'm either going to die right now or this is going to work. And I went and I felt the metal, and the rumor was wrong. He hadn't gotten a nipple pierced, he got both. So I felt metal and was able to drag him down the hall, down the stairs, which dog-legged, On the way, I rolled my ankle so bad I thought I broke it, and we also broke out a window on the way down. But he still got the worst of it, and I got him out the door and into the thing, and went back upstairs limping, and told the rest of the soccer team, shut it down, get out, and had a lot more credibility after that. So I was very hurt, but I guess I still won, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, if you think that Jonathan is a nipple twister, raise your hand. If you think that he's full of crap, raise your hand. Most people think you're full of crap. Did this happen?
So according to Jonathan, he wrote down the truth.
I remember the story.
That's why I broke my ankle.
It was brutal.
You kind of lost me when you said macho soccer players. I was kind of, wait.
So, Chris, I feel like you really have me walking a hard line with this one. And it's tell a story about an ex-girlfriend who is leading a double life.
Dude, I'm sorry.
So, no, it's okay. It's just like the PG aspect.
The door's closed.
So we're gonna go back to.
We need to see your eyes.
Alright, now tell me your story.
Ben, we won't look away from you the entire time.
You have to see if you're.
So we're gonna go back to fall of 2000. I'm living in Philadelphia, where thanks to a wonderful invention called AIM, I met this wonderful, nice little goth girl who was also in high school, and we spent all of our weekends gallivanting down South Street, which South Street is kind of like a bohemian side of town where there's like Digital Ferret and, the Chamber kind of stuff. Just like really weird and interesting stores that oddballs would like to visit. So, through the course of our relationship, things cultivated and grew. And eventually there was a date set involving a jacuzzi. But before the date on that jacuzzi, my mother died and I moved back down to Georgia. So there was no jacuzzi time.
That's really true.
Oh.
Yes, that's really tragic. So 2011 rolls around. I decide to join Facebook. Lo and behold, here's little Miss Kate, and we reconnect and we become friends, and she's like, hey, we have unfinished business. And I'm like, oh, you are absolutely right. So she comes down and she stays for a week, and, things happen. And it's such a good time that she decides to stay for a month. At the end of the month, her husband comes down. This does not end well, but Kate goes home, everything's done. And then Kate decides to, since she's an artist at this point in time, to make visual interpretations of the adventures of her love internet.
Oh my goodness.
Southern Gothic.
Okay. Get Ben eventually get jacuzzi time. Or does Ben just wish he did?
I have faith in you.
Do you think he did? Raise your hand. What we have here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If you think he's lying, raise your hand. 2, 4, 6. They think you're telling the truth. Did you get jacuzzi time?
Pictures speak louder than words. Here's one of the art pieces.
Oh my lord!
The pitchfork is real.
I'll give you a point. No. They figured it out. All right, Blue, what's yours?
Okay, so everybody wants to have a rich uncle. I had a rich uncle. I didn't know about it. This was probably back in 96, 97, 98, somewhere in the late 90s. And I didn't, but when I was growing up, I didn't know about my rich uncle. And come to find out that he was fairly famous. I was kind of shocked that no one ever told me about him. I mean, he climbed mountains and businesses, and he did this, that, and the other. And one of the things that that I did have in common with him is I like to go outside and I like to go hiking. Well, I went hiking up in the Appalachians one time, and for once it got cold. I'm talking like 10 degrees with -10 wind chill, because I'm on top of the mountain, right? And I got frostbite in my foot. So I find out that the uncle died. I go to his house and I meet his butler. And I'm talking to the butler, and I don't know if we were drinking or whatever, but the butler takes a sticker, a fire poker, and he jams me in the foot. And I'm like, that didn't hurt. Because when I was on top of that mountain, I had frostbite on my foot. So, I'll show you. Hardness. My foot right there. Hit it.
Right there?
No, right there.
Right there?
Hit it, yes. Ah! That didn't hurt. Hit it again.
No, give me the other foot.
No.
I want to hit the other foot.
No, that's fucking. Ah! That didn't hurt. So. So I convinced the butler that my foot was frostbite and it didn't hurt when it hit me. And that is the time that I had emergency surgery. Because I had to have it.
If you think that story was true, raise your hand. If you think you're lying.
Okay, so I will tell y'all that is a true story because it happened in the Adam Sandler movie. You didn't say it had to be true to me.
I'm pretty sure it does have to
So that is a true story.
But the Adam Sandler movie's still a work of fiction, so it's still not true.
John, your turn.
I'm trying to figure out how I can tell a story that I get to hit blue.
You were the butler.
So my prompt is to tell a story about a super skill or power that you possess. Now, y'all might know that I write things for a living. And there's a certain stereotype about writers that we've been known to consume massive quantities of adult beverages. And it may be apparent to some of you that I'm a man of a certain stature. But I am a drunken ninja. And I found out about this at a con where some friends of mine and I had consumed somewhere in the neighborhood of 37 frozen strawberry daiquiris at a Dave & Buster's in Norfolk, Virginia, wherein my friend Amy's friend, whose name I don't remember, but she was a dancer, not that kind of dancer, but a ballet dancer.
Strawberry.
Not strawberry. But she ended up removing her belt and horsewhipping a man who was innocently riding one of those little racing games in the middle of Dave & Buster's. So we had to beat a hasty retreat from Dave & Buster's, at which time we returned to our hotel. Now, it being 1 o'clock in the morning, the hot tub in the hotel was closed. But since the hot tubs were on the outside of the building, we figured we could get there. So we left our friend Ginger standing near the exit doors with a $100 bill should security arrive. And then we walked out onto the outdoor patio. And we went around the corner of the patio and we crept along a ledge to get to the hot tubs. Now the ledge was about the width of this table, and the front half of it was full of planters with sticker bushes. Hot tub, swimsuits, sticker bushes. The rest of the ledge was about this wide. 37 strawberry margaritas later, it seemed like a good idea for us to crawl along this ledge about the length of a basketball court on the outside of the 7th floor of the hotel to get into the hot tub at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's when I found out that I am a drunken ninja.
All right, if you think that John is a drunken ninja, raise your hand.
I hope so.
All right, if you think John just made up all that, raise your hand. They think you're telling the truth.
They're good, because on the 7th floor of the exterior of the Norfolk Waterside Marriott in Norfolk, Virginia, there are 3 outdoor hot tubs. And one of them probably still has little scraps of sticker bushes that we carry from rolling along the way.
All right, round 2. Back to Jeff. What's yours this time?
I'll go first. That way it's a little fair. He's got more time.
Okay.
So you've got to go first next time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not. He's always going to go first. All right. So mine was tell a story about an overheard conversation. So I interned in Hollywood for a summer. And I got that job because my brother was working in Hollywood. So my brother was working for Roy Lee and Doug Davidson, the guys that made The Ring, and so he was being paid. But his old job at Outlaw Entertainment, which is the guys that made Training Day with Denzel Washington, he got me basically. He went from intern to a paid job, and he was like, "Hey, take over for the internship." So I got to take over his internship. So there I am, being this like scut monkey for these producers, and Training Day had done really well with the Oscars, and Denzel had won, and so Outlaw just thought they were kind of king at that point. So there was a lot of egos in the room. So I'm spending the summer making sandwiches and running errands and restocking the kitchen and doing script coverage and all this stuff that you do. It's kind of horrible. But I knew that one of my brother's bosses over at Vertigo was really giving him a hard time. And so he came to visit, the boss came to visit our offices. So I overheard him in my boss's office, and they're just chatting. And this guy he's a Hollywood type. He starts going off about his Jetta diesel that he just got. Oh, I got a Jetta turbo diesel. And he's just talking, great dude, like nice. And so I heard him talking about it, whatever. But I knew this guy would give my brother a hard time. And right about that time, I got sent out to get scones or something for the other producers. Yeah, there was always scones. It was weird. It's like, this is LA, not Britain, but why? Okay, so scones. So I go out and I see this blue Jetta TDI with dealer tags on it. So it's new and it's illegally parked. So I went and found a meter maid. Because it's not hard there in Hollywood, because they're always around, because they generate revenue that way, because it's really hard to park right there at Sunset. And so I just said, hey, I'm over at Outlaw Entertainment, and there's a car illegally parked right out front of our building. And it keeps showing up, so I don't think ticketing it is a thing. I think we need to tow it or boot it. I went and got the scones, came back in time to find a boot on it. Went in, put the scones down, went back to my work, waited for the meeting to end, kept working on my script coverage, waited for the guy to go outside, heard him through the wall of the building, screaming and cussing, called my brother and said, P.S., your boss is coming back. He's in a really foul mood, so odds are you're going to have a bad day. But when I tell you the reason why, you're going to be really happy. So that's the story.
If you think Jonathan got this guy's car booted, raise your hand. Think he lied, raise your hand.
I want this to
They
be
think you're a
true.
liar.
I want this to be true though.
I want it to be
I think
true.
it's a story from a.
Well, there's a little. There's a T. There's a T.
Yes.
Look right there.
Yay.
All right, tell a story about a funeral that you attended where something went horribly wrong.
The guy came back to life.
Just so you know, all of these little slips of paper are based on something
That's happened to you
me
guys.
or Angela. I'm sitting there typing this in. I'm like, that'd be a good one. Oh, I remember that happening.
Really? All right, so I'm gonna go back in time and just give you a little bit of like family history. So my grandparents were absolutely insane. I'm talking about my grandmother would lure men out of bars so my grandfather could rob them. most of my aunts and uncles, including my mother, were born in jail. There's a great divide on my mom's family out of the 10 kids because Grandpa wasn't too nice to Grandma, so he was forced out of the house, but they never got a divorce because it just never happened for whatever reason. So from these 10 children, I've got 45 cousins. And, we're kind of got that old school mentality. We've got everybody's back. You got a problem with one, you got a problem with all of us. So we're at Grandma's funeral in 2007. My cousin DJ, he's a little bit off mentally. I'm not going to go into the details why. But somebody at the funeral started making fun of him. So we literally, as a family pack, rolled on them at Grandma's funeral.
Wow. Wow. If you think that Ben lived an episode of Cops at his grandma's funeral, raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
What's if you're a little too hard though?
If you think he made this up, raise your hand.
You think everybody's making everything up?
Okay. The majority.
No!
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I need to jump on
It's
But
not
most
like
of
my
them-
family.
I'm gonna give you some clarity.
Sounds like my family,
Everything
so I
in
can
that
see
story
it.
was true, except it was at my cousin Chrissy's wedding.
Oh!
Best lies are based in
45 cousins. When did anybody have time to sleep?
They weren't 45 by 10. That's 4 kids each. We're a Catholic family. That's not bad.
The oldest is 12.
Oh.
My mother-in-law was one of 6. Okay, so I have to tell a story about when I was a member of a cult or a strange religious group.
Ooh!
Okay,
You
so
also pick political parties.
You said these were based on your life experiences. Okay.
yeah, that's why he said something. Okay, so around the corner, I live out in the country, obviously. If you listen to me for any length of time, you know that. And there is a primitive Baptist, and I wasn't in it, but I was around it and I saw it and I was there. There's a primitive church. I don't really know what denomination, but it's a primitive church. And the pastor was kind of one of those pastors that give pastors a bad name. And his son was kind of like Danny, your cousin that everybody made fun of. DJ, okay. And he just wasn't playing with a full deck of cards. But he was a good guy and he always wanted to please his father. So one night, Sammy and his friend were out at a party and they see this meteor come down, bam, and it explodes. So out of the meteor come these dogs or dog-like creatures about this size, about this tall. And when you touched them, they wept a hallucinogenic fluid that would give you visions. So Sammy's dad, Sam Sr., figured out that, hey, I can use these hallucinogenic weepings to control my church and become really popular, because if everybody's stripping in church, then they're going to give me all the money and all the power. So that's what he did. Problem was, he didn't know after 6 months, the hallucinogenic weepings were a reproductive measure of the alien species. So all of a sudden, these pimple-sized things start popping up on them, and they get bigger. And then all these little dog-sized creatures about the size of a frog come popping out, and they chew their way out. And then the whole congregation, was tripping and all that stuff. And so the whole congregation was basically the host for a new wave of these alien dog creatures. And that was my closest experience with a cult or a strange religious group.
If you think Blue was a part of a primitive Baptist church, you think he made up this whole story?
I think that you were on hallucinogenics.
Okay.
It's crazy tacked on the end
You
to
think
give you a
he's pitching an
technicality.
idea for a new book?
Ding, 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 ding. Back there, that is an unpublished novella that I have called Year of the Dog.
Sweet.
You got it.
You have my attention. I want to buy it.
That was his whole point. He doesn't care about money.
I have to,
No, all I want is unanimous. Either they all think I'm telling the truth, or they all think I'm just full of. I gotta be unanimous. So I was kind of disappointed. I had 3 people over here.
I thought that was legit. That were thinking it was real.
It may have been true if you had been tripping.
kudos to the panel for keeping a straight face.
That's the great thing about doing this in a geek.
Yeah. So,
Aliens, we don't know. That's
True.
I've seen weirder.
so my prompt is to tell a story about saving someone's life.
Oh.
Now,
Gonna go back to the hot
similar
tub.
to Drew, I grew up out in the country. I know it's hard to imagine. But my granddaddy gave the land next to my parents' house to build the volunteer fire department in Bullitt Creek, South Carolina. No, you have not heard of it. It's fine. So, as such, we lived next door to the volunteer fire department, which meant that about the time we were old enough to reach the pedals on a fire truck, we joined the volunteer fire department. Apparently there are rules against that now, but it was the 80s. It was fine. So I was a member of the volunteer fire department from about the time I was 15 until I graduated college and left the state. One time I came home to do laundry from college, as you do. So I rolled up in my 1978 blue Chevrolet Impala, popped the trunk, and hauled out about 8 duffel bags full of dirty clothes. Dropped them on the porch and said, "Hey mama, what's for supper?" As one does. Just about the time I got settled in to talk to mama and daddy about what was going on at school, the scanner went off with an emergency call for the fire department. So I was like, well, I'm here. I'm still technically a member. I went back out to the car, got my turnout gear out of the trunk of the car. It's a 78 Impala. There were, in fact, room for 8 duffel bags full of dirty clothes and a full set of turnout gear. So I hoofed it on down the hill to the fire station, got in the grass truck, and rode on to what turned out to be the largest grass fire in South Carolina history. When I got there to the staging area, they said, "We've got 2 guys and they are surrounded. They have gotten separated from the pumper and we can't get them out." I said, "All right, well, I'll take the grass truck because I can just drive through." I mean, it was a beat to shit old Ford, who cared anyway. I mean, I didn't want to blow the truck up with me in it, but if that was the worst thing that was going to happen, the explosion would spray a lot of water because the grass truck carries several hundred gallons. So I was like, all right. So I loaded up in the grass truck and I drove through the largest grass fire in South Carolina history, slung it around like I was some kind of extra out of the Dukes of Damn Hazard. Had a couple old boys jump in the back and we hauled ass right back out of it. That was the last time I ever went on a call for the volunteer fire department, because I got back and I started thinking about what I had just done. I was like, I think that put my scholarship in jeopardy. And that was the time I saved somebody's life.
All right. If you think he Bo and Luke duped it, raise your hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If you think he lied, raise your hand. Most people think you're telling the truth.
Well, most great lies are rooted in truth. I was in fact a member of the volunteer fire department. I was home doing laundry when the call came out for the largest grass fire in South Carolina history. But I was one of the 2 dumb bastards that was separated.
stabbed or tased. So
That's based on Angela, just so you know.
So I've never been shot or stabbed, but I have been tased. When I went to college, I went to the University of Chicago in the 80s. And my roommate was very political at that time, but I wasn't at all. I was an English major. I didn't care. So I was busy studying and drinking, whatever English majors do. But he wanted to go to a protest. And what they were protesting was Robert McNamara had received a President's Award from the University of Chicago. And a number of people, including students and faculty, were rather upset about that because he was the architect of the Vietnam War. And it was shown afterwards how much he had lied about his role in the Vietnam War.
For young people, that's actually true. Yes.
There's actually a documentary about it. It's really interesting. But my roommate wanted to go, and I said, all right, I'll go with you. And so we went to this rally, and Ron Kovac was there, who was the guy who was born on the 4th of July, guy in a wheelchair. It was, the Tom Cruise movie, if you ever get a chance to see it, it was about him. So he was speaking, and I was surprised at the number of people that had showed up, and also the fact that the Chicago police was there. Because normally they wouldn't be allowed on campus, but I guess they were for this particular event. So they were trying to do crowd control, and some of the people were getting kind of worked up, and one of them was my roommate, and I'm trying to say, I'm dragging him back to the dorm, but he didn't want to go. So eventually, one of the cops, they had pepper spray, they had everything, and one of them tried to tase him and tased me instead. It was very painful, but I didn't faint or anything. So when I was all done, I dragged him back to the dorm, and that was the end of my political career at college.
If you think that the accidental tasing is true, raise your hand. If you think you just made this up, raise your hand. They think you're lying.
I made it up.
You were good up until the point that the taser hadn't been invented yet. So
When was the taser invented?
That was also all the building on this is not a good except for the taser. You were rolling. All the kids
you should have been accidentally shot. That would work better.
There was a protest, and I did attend. It was like post-60s, so it was no big deal.
I run trivia twice a week, and I had this dude that plays trivia who looks just like Robert McNamara. It is freakish. Okay, we've got enough time for you to each take about 2 minutes on your next story. So,
All right,
then you start.
I'll keep it simple. Tell a story about the most dangerous thing you've ever done. Now, I'll tell you, that was some moral inventory right here. But I'm going to have to go with fall of 2005, where I chased a black bear down a mountain to take this picture.
Oh, I believe that.
Yes?
Yes.
They think that's true.
That is true. But I still don't know if it's the dumbest thing I've done. But
Oh, not even in the top 10. Just went for dinner last night, not even in the top 10.
thanks.
All right, Blue.
Mine is a story about a colorful family member or an ancestor. Y'all almost didn't have me here this week, or even any of the last conventions we've ever done. Back in Columbus in the 1910s, my grandmother's father had a brother. They were playing poker one night. Brother got mad at brother, and brother killed brother over a poker game. Turns out my great grandmother, my great grandmother was 3 or 4 months pregnant at the time with my. No, it was one generation back, pregnant with my great grandfather. So if that fight had happened 3 months earlier, back in 1910, 1900, I wouldn't be here. Because brother killed brother down in Columbus, Georgia over a poker game.
Who thinks that we're lucky to have Blue?
Don't phrase it that way! Don't phrase it that way!
Nobody on the panel raise their hand.
Uncle kill his great-great-grandfather? Yes?
Why not?
No. They think that the murder happened.
It's true.
Wow.
Whoa.
It's cool,
It's
man.
actually true. I have.
It's terrible, but it's cool.
Yeah, I have the newspaper article from the Muskogee newspaper at the time. It was Turner Upshaw and I forget the other ones, but I think Turner was the one that got killed. I forget the brother's name.
Were they politicians?
No, I mean, that may
Well,
be.
they were just poker players, they couldn't lie that good.
Yeah.
Back in the boardroom after the city council meeting. Okay, John, what's yours?
So mine is tell a story about a haunted place that you've experienced. Now in Chester, South Carolina, which is about 10 miles from where I grew up, there is an old abandoned movie theater. And if you know how movie theaters in the South worked prior to the latter part of the 20th century, you'll know that there were two entrances and one balcony, and one entrance only led to the balcony because they did not allow people of darker complexion to mix with the fine white people of Chester, South Carolina. I know a fair number of white people in Chester, South Carolina. Fine is not an adjective I usually use to describe them, but whatever. So, being a horror writer and having some interest in the paranormal, when I heard that this movie theater was haunted, I said, let's check it out. And I actually contacted the people that own the movie theater and asked permission because I don't like getting shot at. So I didn't say I've never been shot at. So as I was wandering around the ground floor, nothing, doesn't feel cold spots. I'm not walking around with no gadgets or anything, I'm just looking around. I don't feel any cold spots, I don't hear anything weird. But as I am walking up the stairs to the segregated balcony, I feel something grab me.
Oh.
And I feel hands around my neck. And with every step I go up, it's getting tighter. I don't make it all the way up. I'm like, nah, I'll just leave. Y'all are fine. So I turned around and left and have not been back to the old movie theater in Chester, South Carolina, and frankly try hard to stay out of Chester in general. But that was my haunted place experience.
All right, if you think the ghost grabbed him around the neck, raise your hand. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. If you think he lied, raise your hand.
Now, Blondie in row 3, you've been pretty much right every time, haven't you? Well, your streak is gone, baby. Because while all of that did happen, none of it happened to me.
Ooh.
That is a story that happened to my friend Tally Johnson, ghost hunter and storyteller extraordinaire.
Nice.
That's Patty.
That's Patty, not spelled like her. Sorry, I got you.
Okay, this is a quick one. This is telling a story about someone, you or someone you know met the president. And so my ancient history teacher in high school tells the story that he was in Missouri and he went to the Truman Library and he just happened to be wandering around looking at exhibits and things and walked into where the stacks were. Harry Truman was sitting in a chair at the end of the row, and he went over and introduced himself and talked to him. He was a history teacher, so he knew a lot about him. And so and they had a nice little chat, and then he just went home. That's it.
Did your friend meet Harry Truman? Raise your hand. So if they don't lie, raise your hand. They think you're lying.
It's true.
Ye of little faith. At the end of a panel that's titled Two Lies and a Truth.
So this one's easy to make fast. Tell a story about the time you spent in a mental hospital. So I grew up in one. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and my mom was a social worker, and she split her time between two places because neither place could afford for her to be there full time. So she was a social worker for high-risk pregnancy mothers at a hospital, and then she was also one at this facility called Cloverfield, which was a mental hospital. And the two things that we hated worse, my brother and I, we hated swim lessons and any time we had to go with mom to work at Cloverfield. Clover Bottom, sorry, it is Clover Bottom, I was thinking of the movie, Clover Bottom. It was terrible. I mean, literally, every time we drive up, we'd be in our car and people would be escaping. One time we had a woman, my mom had to stop and a woman like face planted on top of the hood of the car trying to escape the guard. But the story that sticks out, I think it was 3 or 4, and I was told, don't wander. They're supposed to stay in her office and play. And I was 3 or 4, and so I decided to go wandering. And it wound up in a recreation room that I wasn't supposed to be in, where the not inmates, that's not really fair. The patients were. And so I was just kind of standing there, and I was 3 or 4. They kind of, this sounds terrible. They kind of played the same games I was playing. So it looked like, it was like, oh, so I saw, blocks and, the card. And so I was just kind of standing there, like, looking to see what I could do. So you guys have all seen Netflix's Daredevil, right? So the Kingpin, the villain, Vincent D'Onofrio, picture him like 4 times bigger, 9 times balder, and 10 times nakeder. So this guy looked like this. He just suddenly stood up, ran at me with his arms spread like this, and he was across the room and just started coming. And so it was all I saw was like belly, bald head, and the thing swinging underneath the belly. And the door opened behind me, and I got grabbed and pulled back, and the door slammed, and there was this little window, and he just smacked the door, and his face hit the window. And it was one of the orderlies who saw me and pulled me in. And my mom came like a second later, and she said, "Is he okay? Is he okay?" And the orderly looked. He said, "Miss French, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You know that he does that every time we don't let him wear a red shirt." And my mom looked at the orderly and goes, "Then let him wear a red shirt," just like that. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And we left. So that's my most vivid memory of that.
If you think Jonathan was accosted by the swinging kingpin, raise your hand. If you think he made up that entire story, raise your hand. I think you're a liar.
So
Please
it's
be right.
entirely true. I wrote false. It is entirely true. All of that happened. Except, that was my mom's real job. That guy did exist. I never actually went to the facility, so she never took me. But all of that was true up until the point that I never actually went. That happened to her.
He was the extra on Star Trek.
Yeah. It happened to my mom.
Wear the red shirt.
Looks like we've got Jeff, Jonathan, and John as a tie.
Nice.
All right, let's see. Donovan, Christy, I need you.
Can we say where we're going to be?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, I'm sorry. I will be at a reading at 3 at the Jiggly Wizard?
Jittery Wizard.
Jittery Wizard.
The Jiggly Wizard.
Jonathan's got the jiggly.
On the 17th.
Wrong convention.
3 o'clock.
And if you like our fun author competitions, we're doing Dragon Wizards and Men's at 4 o'clock. And it's going to be in a similar vein, but we have to come up with opening lines to books on the spot.
Oh, is that what that is?
I'm gonna go to the dealer room and sell
Is
books.
When is that?
Storytelling. Come bring me
4 o'clock? Okay.
So I'm leaving here right now and going up to the Jittery Wizard. I hope I can make it in 15 minutes. I don't know. I've heard it's tough. And I've got a live AMA, which Ask Me Anything. So if you want to know about transitioning from self-published author to a major book deal with a big publisher, or anything about my books, everything I say up there will be the truth. If you feel like picking a brain, come on up.
And Donald and Christy and I are going to be running the second Choose Your Own Adventure game. I'm giving to their parts right now, so if you want to participate in that, the first room you'll go to will be the Crystal Cave.
Real quick question, do all of you guys have boots out there?
I don't.
Whose phone is this? Do you want me to click finish? Do you want me to click finish?